Hillary Clinton spoke out on the Trump impeachment fiasco with some comments that take hypocrisy to a whole new level. Adam Schiff continues to lie about the Ukrainian phone call, and female rugby players are facing injuries, including broken bones, by being forced to play against men. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. I hope you had a great weekend. We're going to start with Hillary Clinton because, oh my gosh, she was on the Sunday talk shows, and guess what? She favors impeachment, believe it or not. I wish she would just go away, but the press keeps bringing her back and bringing her back. Anytime they need an anti-Trump, oh, I'm still bitter about 2016 reaction, they turn to her. So she was on CBS, and here's part of what she said.
Given this latest revelation, which is such a blatant effort to use his presidential position to advance his personal and political interests, there should be an impeachment inquiry opened.
All right, wait a second. Did she just talk about using a position to advance personal and political gains? Hillary Clinton, she said that against President Trump. All right, I just wanted to make sure, and here's more.
When the President of the United States, who has taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and by that, defend the American people and their interests, uses his position to, in effect, extort a foreign government for his own political purposes, I think that is very much what the founders worried about.
So clearly, Clinton was talking about Barack Obama and Joe Biden there, right? They are the ones that actually extorted from Ukraine. They are the ones that actually said we're going to withhold $1 billion in U.S. loan guarantees unless you fire this guy who's investigating, the vice president's son. I mean, that's what actually happened. And she's talking about them, right? It's just nuts. Well, then Clinton was asked about another 4 years of President Trump. And here's what she said.
I don't accept that. I don't believe that will happen. I believe that there were many funny things that happened in my election that will not happen again.
So some funny things happened. Some funny things happened in 2016. It's not just straight up that she only won 20 states to President Trump's 30. It's not that. It's just that some funny things happened. And again, these statements that she's made about corruption and about President Trump, that details exactly and describes exactly what happened in the Obama administration. Whether it's Benghazi or whether it's the IRS or whether it's Ukraine, I mean, on and on and on. Actual corruption, actual strong-arm tactics, mafia tactics from the Obama administration, and yet there's no investigation, and especially with Ukraine being in the news, that's what needs to be investigated. The vice president bragged about pressuring Ukraine, and no one is talking about it, and we need to keep that in the mix, in our voices, and talk to people so that this can be investigated. Otherwise, they're going to keep going on and on and on. You know, Clinton's calling about impeachment and all this stuff, and that's all the left has. Ever since President Trump got elected, it's been investigation after investigation after investigation to tie things up so things don't actually get done. And that leads, of course, to Adam Schiff, because we covered that on Friday's show, how during his House Intelligence Committee hearing, he just outright lied in his opening statement, making stuff up about the transcript on the Ukrainian phone call. And he continued it this weekend. He was on ABC News Sunday program, and he just flat out lied, and the media give him a pass on it every single time. Here's some of his comments to George Stephanopoulos on ABC.
I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. This is, in sum and character, what the president was trying to communicate.
That was you making up dialogue, putting it in the president's mouth. If the facts are as damning as you say, why make up dialogue for dramatic effect?
All right, so that's a pretty straightforward question, from George. So what is Adam Schiff's response? Check this out.
Well, George, you're right. The call speaks for itself, and it is plenty damning. But let's not pretend that this is really what the president is upset with me about.
So you see what Schiff does there? First of all, he says this political spin that's just so typical that people gloss over. But he says, George, you're absolutely right. The evidence is there and it's pretty damning. Well, Stephanopoulos never said that. He asked Schiff about the question saying, hey, you seem to think it's like this. Why did you make stuff up? And Schiff just completely spins it to actually make it sound like Stephanopoulos is making a statement that he agrees with that too. And then Schiff just goes on, never answers the question. And then at the end of his monologue, George Stephanopoulos just moves on to the next question. He asked a specific question. Schiff didn't answer it, goes on this, just this blah, blah, blah of lies. And Stephanopoulos just lets it go. And earlier in the program, Schiff said the exact same type of thing that he said during the hearing. Check this out.
We have seen in that call record is a president of the United States use the full weight of his office with a country beholden to America for its defense, even as Russian troops occupy part of its land. And the president used that opportunity to try to coerce that leader to manufacture dirt on his opponent and interfere in our election.
So it's lies. It's just pure lies. And the media give this guy a platform whenever he wants it. And they don't challenge him on it. They give him this platform to continue to say stuff like he said in the hearing, which is not true. And again, it's just more national media airtime for this guy to say things that basically go unchecked when you're with hosts like Jake Tapper over at CNN or George Stephanopoulos at ABC. They just go unchecked. And before we move on from this whole whistleblower nonsense, I want to play this clip for you. This is Mark Levin. He was a radio talk show host, and he's talking to Fox News, and he brought up some really interesting stuff about the whole CIA protocols for whistleblowers and how it had this procedure for the longest time. And then guess what? All of a sudden in August, just before this report comes out, they changed their standards. Check this out.
Why is it that the CIA changed its whistleblower policy in August, when this letter is dated August 12th? Under the former policy before August, under the former policy, he's not a whistleblower. This isn't a whistleblower complaint, and nothing's sent to the United States Congress. How did that happen like this?
All right, those are absolutely great questions. And it goes back to what I said Friday, because ever since President Trump got elected, he not only faces Democrat politicians and left-wing media and things like that, he also faces this deep state entrenched bureaucracy of people that have worked for the government so long, and whether they started center or whatever, they become entrenched left-wingers, and they're not accountable to anybody. They just stay and stay and stay. And they, along with the left-wing media and the Democrats, have been trying to sabotage Trump from the very first moment he stepped into the Oval Office. And we see it happening now, and it's just going to continue and continue. And President Trump is the only one that has been willing to seriously step up and clean house. If you recall, especially the term when Republicans controlled the House too, his first 2 years, all the opposition that he's faced from the GOP, not just the left, from the GOP, because he wanted to clean things up. He wanted to shake things up. He wanted to break up the establishment. Well, guess what? When you do that, the establishment fights back and they don't like it. And that's what he's seeing right here. And they'll try any little thing to bring him down. So we're going to keep on that story. But next, I want to move to the latest installment, latest update on what's going on with transgenders in sports, because this is a big deal. I like to bring this up because as an athlete, I always hoped that politics would stay out of athletics. But as we see, and especially recently, politics is knee-deep in it. The left is pushing this transgender movement to such an extreme that they are absolutely going to destroy women's sports. And they're supposed to be the advocates of women, and yet they don't care because, again, we've talked about this time and time again. The left is built on interest groups, and they don't have an overall governing philosophy that drives them like conservatives, where we believe in freedom and responsibility and lower taxes in general. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, woman, man. It doesn't matter. But on the left, if you put these interest groups against each other, you run into problems. They're supposed to be advocates for women, and yet transgender movement comes along. They see that they can make some gains, fracture families and fracture the establishment and society. And so women, it no longer matters. Here's a report from the Daily Caller. It says, biological males who identify as transgender women are wreaking havoc in women's rugby in Great Britain. Women's rugby referees in England are quitting their jobs over the inclusion of male athletes, according to a report in the Sunday Times this weekend. Being forced to prioritize hurt feelings over broken bones exposes me to personal litigation from female players who have been damaged by players who are biologically male. This is driving female players and referees out of the game, one referee told a British newspaper under the condition of anonymity. All right, so this is absolutely crazy. And we see it happening more and more with biking, with weightlifting, with boxing, with this stuff. And it's just, and the one thing I want to point out is that the left and the Democrats support this. They are pushing legislation that will make this more common. And here's more from the Daily Caller. It says, Democrats in Congress and on the presidential campaign trail have rallied behind the Equality Act, which would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to make gender identity a protected characteristic under federal anti-discrimination law. The bill passed in the House with unanimous Democratic support in May, but it hasn't come up for a vote in the Republican-controlled Senate. So it's just, oh my gosh, it's just nuts. And we see this, and people are going to get hurt. Women will not be able to participate. Podiums and awards and first place finishes and things like that, they're going to go to men in women's sports. It's just absolutely outrageous. And to move on from there, from outrageous to just plain stupid, I guess, there's an actual controversy regarding the Los Angeles Police Department. They are having a recruiting drive, trying to get more officers in. So what do you do when you have a recruiting drive? Well, you put up signs, you get on social media, you run ads. Well, the Los Angeles Police Department put an ad together, and it showed up on websites. That's what it does when you get a Google ad. It shows up on websites. Well, one of the websites it showed up on was Breitbart.com, and there was an uproar. And I use that word, I use it, the left uses it because they get in an outrage whenever something happens. But now they're all up in arms because the LAPD recruiting ad showed up on Breitbart. Check this out. It says, the Los Angeles Police Department has dropped an ad service after recruitment advertisement appeared on Breitbart's website. The ad, which was first reported by Daily Beast editor-in-chief Noah Schachtman, shows a female officer with the caption, "Choose your future. LAPD is hiring." So this editor-in-chief gets up in arms because LAPD's ad shows up on a conservative site. It makes no sense. And the whole idea of this thing is nonsense because the LAPD put out a tweet and they said that they celebrate diversity. I'll put this one up. It says, the LAPD celebrates diversity and embraces it within our ranks and within the city we serve. We are aware that the recruitment advertisement has been circulated on a website that creates a negative juxtaposition to our core values. So they celebrate diversity as long as you are, a left-winger, as long as you vote Democrat, as long as you don't, associate with those nasty conservatives. That apparently is what diversity means to the LAPD. And it's just ridiculous, folks. So anyway, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. And we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is the 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.